attacks on your character, all designed to lure you back into engagement. But when you stay silent, the strategy crumbles. The harder they try, the more obvious their bitterness becomes. Embarrassment, regret, shame, these replace the illusion of control they once held. Without your pursuit, the truth hits hard. They are powerless. Psychologists observe that narcissists thrive on predictability, the cycle of devalue, then hoover. But when you step completely outside that pattern, the rules vanish. They are left disoriented, stripped of power, lost in a game they no longer understand. And sometimes, there's one last act of theatrical desperation. They appear at your door unannounced. They write emotional letters. They stage crises. Psychologists caution, these are never sincere. They are bait, designed to force you into pursuit. But when you see through it, when you refuse to take the bait, the humiliation cuts deep. Your absence no longer shakes them. Your silence becomes a mirror reflecting the emptiness they've always feared. And that, more than anything, wounds them at the core. This devastates them. Narcissists cling to the belief that you cannot exist without them, that your world revolves around their whims. But every smile you wear, every step forward, every new beginning you embrace is proof that their grip was never real. Psychologists explain that this truth is excruciating for their fragile self-image. It shatters the illusion of permanent control they've built their lives upon. Refusing to chase dismantles the predictability they rely on. They have built their confidence on knowing exactly how you will react. But when you break the pattern, when you stop playing their game, they lose their footing entirely. Psychologists emphasize that unpredictability throws them into chaos, lurching between rage, pleading, and frantic attempts to regain control. Their volatility is exposed, and your calm, silent strength becomes a mirror reflecting their weakness. Envy seeps in over time. Watching you thrive, watching you grow, narcissists are confronted with the stark contrast of their own stagnation. Psychologists note that instead of acknowledging their failures, they stew in bitterness, resenting your peace, your confidence, and the authentic connections you build. Your refusal to pursue becomes an unrelenting reminder. You are moving forward. They are trapped in place. Perhaps the cruelest blow of all is irrelevance. Narcissists survive on being the center of someone else's universe. When that spotlight goes dark, their ego feels annihilated. Rage, panic, and lashings out are mere attempts to reclaim what your silence has already taken, their power. Psychologists explain that your detachment forces them to confront the emptiness they have spent a lifetime running from. In quieter moments, regret creeps in, rarely spoken aloud, but ever present. They replay the moments when your attention was theirs, and it is gone forever. Psychologists note that nothing cuts deeper than realizing too late what you withheld was not anger or rejection, but genuine care they may never experience again. To numb the pain, many rush to replace you. A new partner is paraded, flaunted, weaponized to provoke jealousy. But it fails. Psychologists highlight that no replacement can replicate the connection they lost, and each failed attempt only deepens their regret. Comparisons haunt them. Your absence becomes a shadow that no new relationship can fill. Denial follows. They boast, "I'm better off without them." But psychologists point out the truth behind the words. The louder they insist, the louder their failure echoes. Genuine indifference never needs announcement. It speaks in silence. Your refusal pieces their pride, exposing the wound they cannot mend. Eventually, they are left alone with themselves. Psychologists observe that narcissists cannot endure being confronted by their own emptiness. Deprived of your attention, left without reactions to feed upon, their insecurities echo relentlessly. Distractions, fleeting pleasures, addictions, they attempt to drown the ache. But nothing fills the void left by your independence. Regret blooms in the harshest light. They assumed your return was guaranteed, that no cruelty or neglect could keep you away. When you didn't run back, psychologists explain, it shattered their illusion. Independence was never part of their script. Your refusal exposed their false superiority and humiliated them, revealing what they feared most. They are not irreplaceable. Your silence dismantles the cycle they depend on. Narcissists thrive on highs and lows, fights and reconciliations, the endless chase. Without pursuit, the rhythm dies. No drama, no control, no stage. Psychologists emphasize that emptiness unsettles them because they cannot exist outside manipulation. Your calm, steadfast presence becomes louder than any words. It is the final bell. The game is over. Paranoia sets in. They imagine you thriving without them, laughing, building a future, finding love. Psychologists note that these imagined scenarios torment them because they highlight everything they've squandered. Your refusal to chase is not punishment. It is a declaration. You are moving forward, and they are frozen in the past. Over time, it becomes clear to them. Your refusal was never revenge. It was a boundary, a simple, undeniable line that shatters entitlement. Psychologists explain that narcissists regret underestimating you because your strength reveals the ultimate truth. Their power was never absolute, and your freedom was never theirs to take. And when you stop chasing, they are left alone with themselves. Reflection is a mirror narcissists avoid at all costs, yet your absence forces them into it. In the quiet, insecurities surge. Where they once expected admiration, there is shame. Where they demanded love, there is regret. Silence becomes a mirror they cannot bear to face. This is the deeper truth. Refusing to pursue a narcissist is not just resilience, it is liberation. Psychologists explain that the moment you stop feeding their power, their entire control dynamic crumbles. For them, it is one of the deepest wounds they will ever endure. For you, it is the first step into true healing. Eventually, reality hits them. Control has slipped away. Your emotions, your reactions, the very version of yourself they tried to shape, gone. Psychologists note that losing this narrative power is devastating. They can no longer dictate who you are. In desperation, they may lash out with accusations, insults, or cruel words. But when you do not respond, those attempts fall flat. Your silence cuts sharper than any argument, confirming that their grip is broken forever. Some spiral into despair. Without the supply of your attention, psychologists explain, they feel hollow. Isolation, reckless behaviors, addictions, they grasp for anything to numb the emptiness. Yet even there, growth is rare. They point outward, blaming others, refusing to confront themselves. By refusing to chase, you force them to face what they have always fled, themselves. And that is where they remain, trapped in their own cycle of emptiness, while you rise. Psychologists stress this is not revenge, it is recovery. Watching you heal while they stagnate becomes a mirror they cannot escape, a reminder of your strength that no words could match. Regret gnaws at them, though it rarely surfaces publicly. Behind closed doors, psychologists say, they replay your laughter, your loyalty, your care, the very things they dismissed. This is what happens when narcissists realize you refuse to pursue them. Have you ever noticed how narcissists expect to be chased? It's like a game to them. They create distance, stir drama, act untouchable, all while waiting for you to run after them. But here's the twist. The moment you stop chasing, their entire world begins to crumble. Psychologists call this one of the most devastating blows a narcissist can face because it strips away their illusion of control. At first, they will perform. They'll flaunt themselves on social media, parade achievements, act as if your silence doesn't matter. They are masters of the mask. But behind the bravado, panic rises. You see, narcissists rely on your pursuit. They expect it. When it doesn't come, it feels like abandonment, the wound they hide beneath arrogance. Holding your ground hits them where it hurts. Narcissists survive on attention, admiration, and emotional reactions. Cut off their supply, and their world shakes. Psychologists call it a narcissistic injury. Suddenly, they are exposed, vulnerable, irrelevant. The very thing they feed on, the emotional energy you provide, disappears, leaving them face to face with the emptiness they've spent a lifetime running from. Confusion sets in. They are trained for a cycle. They withdraw, you chase, they regain control. Change the rules, and suddenly the floor disappears beneath them. Rage often follows, insults, blame, sudden attacks, as they try desperately to provoke you back into their game. But when you remain calm, silent, unshaken, their frustration becomes unbearable. Then comes the hoovering, the calls, the nostalgic messages, the empty promises. Psychologists warn, this isn't transformation. It's desperation, a last-ditch effort to pull you back under their control. But when you don't respond, the sting cuts deep. Their tricks no longer work, and that truth strikes at the fragile core of their ego. Some escalate to triangulation. They flaunt someone new, hoping jealousy will lure you back. Yet, if you refuse to take the bait, the plan collapses. What was meant to wound you rebounds, leaving them trapped in the hollow echo of their own performance. Without your pursuit, narcissists spiral into irrelevance, their greatest fear. Psychologists explain that they thrive on being the center of your world. When that world refuses to revolve around them, they are forced to face a reality they cannot bear. They are not as powerful as they imagined. Shame, bitterness, and regret rise to fill the void. Silence is your most devastating weapon. Narcissists cannot endure stillness. Without your reactions, they are left alone with themselves, and what they discover is insecurity, emptiness, and shame. Feelings they've spent decades running from. With you gone, there's nowhere to hide. And here lies your power. By refusing to chase, you reclaim your energy. Psychologists confirm that the moment you stop pursuing, the narcissist loses control, and you step into freedom. This isn't revenge, it's healing. You no longer need them to define your worth, your love, or your life. So what happens? The narcissist feels exposed, irrelevant, powerless. They rage. They hoover. They flaunt new supply. They attempt chaos, but none of it works. Your silence speaks louder than words. Their game is over. And for them, that truth is more painful than anything else. Their panic grows as they realize you are no longer emotionally available. No tears, no explanations, no chase. Psychologists describe this as starvation. The very supply they depended on has been severed. Your refusal becomes a mirror, forcing them to confront the emptiness they've always feared. Some will try to charm you back. Compliments, nostalgia, fake care. It's manipulation wearing the mask of intimacy. Psychologists stress this. It's never genuine. Refuse to respond, and it rattles them to their core. Their deepest terror, not losing you, but losing control over your feelings. The longer you hold your ground, the more desperate they become. Psychologists call this the beginning of narcissistic collapse. The polished facade fractures, revealing paranoia, insecurity, rage. They lash out, recycle every tactic, spiral further. But without your energy to fuel them, it all falls flat. Your strength magnifies their weakness, a truth they cannot bear. And that is the power of refusal. Your silence is not empty, it is a force. It strips them of their illusions, exposes their fragility, and restores your freedom. You do not chase. You do not justify. You simply exist. And in that existence, your life becomes your own. Then comes guilt, their next weapon. Suddenly, you hear it everywhere. After everything I've done for you, or you'll never find someone who cares the way I do. Every phrase is a trap, carefully designed to make you doubt yourself, to loosen your resolve. Psychologists warn that guilt is one of the sharpest tools in a narcissist's arsenal. But the moment you recognize it for what it is and refuse to chase, the weapon loses its edge. Stripped of its power, they are left exposed, weak, powerless. Without your pursuit, irrelevance sets in, and nothing terrifies a narcissist more. They live believing they will always be the center of your universe, the main character in your story. But silence proves otherwise. Suddenly, their importance shrinks. The realization burns. They are no longer essential to your life. Psychologists explain that this shatters the illusion of their irresistibility, dismantling the fantasy they've long depended on. Your refusal becomes the deepest rejection imaginable, the kind that collapses their ego from the inside out. Desperation follows. Many rush to replace you, flaunting new partners, hoping jealousy will drag you back into their orbit. But psychologists emphasize this tactic backfires when you remain unshaken. The new supply feels hollow because it doesn't provoke you. What was meant to wound you instead exposes their emptiness. Replacing you cannot erase the regret of losing control over someone who finally walked away. As time passes, your silence becomes unbearable for them. Narcissists cannot endure being forgotten. Psychologists note their obsessive need to monitor you, checking social media, asking friends, tracking your life from the shadows. Every unanswered question torments them. Your detachment is a mirror that reflects the fragility of their identity. Without your reactions, the drama dies. Without your pursuit, their world unravels. All that remains is insecurity, shame, and emptiness. Silence and independence. These, psychologists insist, are wounds deeper than any act of revenge. Your refusal is not cruelty, it is liberation. When desperation peaks, the victim act appears. "I can't believe you do this to me," they cry, or "everyone always abandons me." Psychologists call this what it is: a calculated attempt to flip the script, to make you feel guilty for protecting yourself. But when you see it clearly, the tactic collapses. Powerless, their mask begins to crack. Paranoia follows. Deprived of your attention, their minds spiral. Where are you? Who are you with? Are you happy without me? Psychologists explain. Narcissists are haunted by the thought of being forgotten. They check, they snoop, they probe through mutual contacts, each unanswered question gnawing at them. Silence forces them to imagine the unthinkable, that you are moving on, thriving, free of their control. Sometimes, their desperation escalates further, a smear campaign. Lies, gossip, distorted events. Your silence forces them to confront a truth they had long denied. They lost someone rare, and that loss is irreversible. Over time, anger fades, but the emptiness endures. Psychologists note that narcissists cling to distractions to avoid facing themselves. Yet without your pursuit, those distractions fail. Your quiet becomes a shadow trailing them, a constant reminder that control has limits. It is one of the cruelest lessons they will ever learn. Your refusal also sends shockwaves beyond your own relationship. Psychologists highlight how a single boundary can inspire others to set theirs. Suddenly, it is not just you they have lost. They begin to lose credibility, exposure looms, and their worst fears surfaces, being revealed as they truly are. Some may try to return years later, testing if the door remains open. Psychologists point out that this proves they never truly moved on. Yet when you hold the boundary, the rejection lands harder than ever. It tells them plainly, the fantasy of reunion was just that, a fantasy. The finality of your silence crushes them, confirming the ending they refuse to face. In the end, refusing to chase strips away their illusion of invincibility. Psychologists affirm that narcissists build their identity on control, admiration, and manipulation. When you walk away without turning back, that illusion shatters. For them, it is humiliation. For you, it is empowerment. Here is the ultimate truth. When you stop chasing, the narcissist collapses into their own emptiness. Rage, denial, manipulations, replacements, none of it fills the void. Your silence becomes the loudest statement of all. It declares the game over. They remain trapped in regret, while you step into freedom. That is the ending they never imagined, but the one that sets you free.